Until I am the government, it's always going to be scary dealing with the government.
Yeah, you hear people getting into deals like that and dumping tens of thousands into the drain just trying to fight that process. So I think at the end of the day, the thing that's really going to be the most efficient long-term source of motivation is going to be tied to your goals.
So when you originally were on my channel, you were talking about getting started in real estate investing. You were 20 years old when you bought your first property. At 24, you had how many?
I had 2 properties.
And how many do you have now at 27?
And I have 8 properties.
Nice. And back then you had how many tenants in the 2 buildings?
So I had 11 tenants in the 2 buildings.
Okay, and now you have?
Now I'm over 65 tenants.
This is the very first video of Dylan on my YouTube channel. This would be sometime back in 2016.
My name is Dylan McLauchlan.
Is that the same polo?
No, it is not the same polo. Actually, I still own that polo. It's a solid staple of the attire.
What is up, YouTube? Today I'm joined by Dylan McLauchlan, who's been on my YouTube channel in the past. When you first joined the channel, you were how old?
I was 24 years old.
And you're how old now?
26 years old.
And so when you originally were on my channel, you were talking about getting started in real estate investing. You were 20 years old when you bought your first property. At 24, you had how many?
I had 2 properties.
And how many do you have now at 27?
And I have 8 properties.
Nice. And back then you had how many tenants in the 2 buildings?
So I had 11 tenants in the 2 buildings.
Okay, and now you have?
Now I'm over 65 tenants.
Over 65 tenants. So in today's video, myself and Dylan are going to sit down. We're going to review that very first video. We're going to share just kind of our thoughts and our opinions on 2016 version Dylan. And we've just got tons of great tips, advice, and a lot more in today's video, guys. If you want to learn how to get started as a young real estate investor, you need to see this video.
My name is Dylan McLauchlan. I'm born and raised in London, Ontario. I just turned 24 years old a month ago, so still relatively young in the real estate investing, but loving it so far. And currently I have 2 properties, 2 student rental properties. Hey guys, how's it going? Dylan here, just giving you a quick book summary of the E-Myth for real estate investors.
At this point, why wouldn't people want to invest with you? At this point, you're going to be able to show them your history, your track record, and all these things that will really entice them to want to invest with you. It's a grind. I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I've just had a bunch of coffee, I'm just pounding away looking for deals. So that's what it becomes, right? Because you got to be quick, you got to be searching it very regularly.
All right, we've got young Dylan on the screen. This is the very first video of Dylan on my YouTube channel. This would be sometime back in 2016. I'm not even really sure exactly when it would have happened, but this is at like the very first house I ever shot YouTube videos at. You can see we've got the map of Canada in the background. So let's just kind of dive into this video, and we're going to share our perspective on young Dylan.
My name is Dylan McLauchlan.
Is that the same polo?
No, it is not the same polo. Actually, I still own that polo. It's a solid staple of the attire.
Still relatively young in the real estate investing, but...
So you were 24. How old are you now?
I'm 26 right now, so 24, 26.
Over the hill. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's done. I
One
peaked.
is a 5-bedroom student rental. And the
First one, I actually added a bedroom to that one now, so
Oh yeah.
instant cash flow. There we go.
Do you still have both properties?
I still have both properties. Still have them kicking. You know what I mean? They've been amazing. They're good deals. Yeah.
But at the same time, not wanting to spend a lot of extra money and still kind of save up. Still have my lifestyle stay the same and be building towards something larger. The whole idea of just...
So my lifestyle's still very similar. Like, I still like the same things. I still do the same activities. You know what I mean? Wealth, all this wealth and all this money funneling, it hasn't changed me. I'm still the same Dylan from the block.
In-law suite.
That's good to hear.
Which, if anyone's familiar with real estate, it's very similar to a duplex, except...
So do you still own both properties?
Yep, still own both. 100% still own. Haven't sold out yet.
Okay.
Buying this property, I was able to live in the bottom unit of this property for free, and the tenants up at the top paid for the entire mortgage.
Are you still house hacking?
All the utilities. And
I will be. Yeah. So I'm still vagabonding though. That hasn't changed at all since then, man. I literally, all my shit fits in a car. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
All my stuff fits in a car. One trip to move everything over. I've probably moved like 3 times this year. So
yeah, Dylan for a while was living in the mansion as well. So
exactly.
How powerful it was to be able to take a relatively small amount of money and purchase such a large asset.
This is the key. Yeah.
Spit off cash.
That leverage game.
Not only that, but it's something that can match up with your lifestyle because
Are you still apprenticing?
Still apprenticing, yep. Or no.
I was just gonna say, you're not apprenticing.
I'm not. Actually, so I continued to apprentice all the way through this, got my license, got my ticket, so I'm now full journeyman, full electrical journeyman. So I can journey around, I can do work, and which is very rewarding. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to stick to it, stick to the guns.
But you're currently not like working as an electrician.
No, not at all. But a little bit, I still have it in my back pocket. It's still something I can access as well to help with financing, to help with getting extra money, to help with cash flow. Like really like a 9-to-5 job is like the ultimate cash flow business because you have no expenses and it's secure and it's reliable. So always great to have that as a fallback plan. But that's the thing. At the end of the day, real estate, building businesses, doing things, focusing on your own business is so much more profitable.
And like, there's things right now that I think are really scary in real estate investing, like some of the stuff Matt's doing with his.
I still think Matt's doing scary stuff.
Properties and pulling it all out. There's definitely an element of fear towards. But once again, like as you start the process and you realize that things aren't that crazy and it's all very logical and step by step, you really see that path opens up. So that's kind of stuff.
So what scares you right now in real estate still? Like what's a scary thing for you now?
Yeah, so right now I would really. That's a great question. It's really now for me doing like new builds and potentially like adding on additions and just large scale kind of foundation to roof renovation things would really scare me now. I've done some pretty major, full gut jobs, done multiple of those. And really, as long as you have a shell to work with, it's not too big of a deal. But I think that's where my fears really start to come in. Additionally, I guess like really having to like work with and massage like the city or licensing.
Yes, the city still scares me. So I just want to go on the record there. Yeah. Dealing with government, always scary.
Yeah,
I don't think until I am the government, it's always going to be scary dealing with the government.
Yeah, you hear people getting into deals like that and dumping tens of thousands into the drain just trying to fight that process. So yeah, really it's like that really full level of really repurposing massive amounts of land or buildings or adding massive amounts, which it scares me now, but it's cool. There are some guys in our network that are doing that, and I love seeing that. And it's the same thing.
It's just a new skill, right?
Right.
But the reason I think that dealing with the city or regulators is so scary for us is it's something that's kind of outside of our control. Yeah. Right? Like it's kind of a black box about how and what they decide to do and their logic behind it. So a lot of other things, like if I hire the wrong contractor, I can just fire them and hire a new one. If like I get the wrong materials, I can just go exchange them. Where the city, it often feels like there's no takebacks. That it's like you get one shot or like, and if not, there's like, okay, we're just application denied, but we're keeping your money.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. Those things are pretty big ticket items. I think even too, like having lots of employees or lots of things going on at once is still something that's still a challenge that I'm facing, that I'm kind of learning to step into a little bit more too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you bought your first property at 20.
Yes.
What gave you the confidence?
Good question. Yeah.
Caffeine.
I would say the biggest thing, I think I'm a very like individually motivated person. So if I see something that I want to.
How does the audience at home become an individually motivated person?
Okay, I thought a lot about this actually, so I'm stoked to be able to share. So like at the end of the day, really you need to have that internal motivation, because you can go to seminars, you can read books, and you get hyped up for a little bit, but it really doesn't last. So I think at the end of the day, the thing that's really gonna be the most efficient long-term source of motivation is gonna be tied to your goals. So you really need to focus on the goals that you wanna achieve, and then use those to give you the energy to draw you through what you need to be doing. Because the goals not only dictate the path you're gonna take, the methods you're going to use, but that also should be what's fueling you to get things done. Because at the end of the day too, like, and this is kind of one of the darker sides of financial independence, of early retirement and all the things like that, once certain needs are met, you could very easily just chill. Like there's nothing really forcing you to make more money or get deals done faster. But the most, like the hungriest people I know, the most successful people I know that are just crushing it on a high level, they're just constantly obsessing about what goals are. Like, I want to get this done. I want to have this ready by summer. I want to be doing this and by this. And so it's that constant process of really just ingraining that and using that to fuel you.
And guys, that's just normal Dylan. He didn't like preemptively plan that speech or anything. Like we didn't discuss it beforehand. That's why I love Dylan. He's just constantly filled with great knowledge.
I'll like go and do it. but I'm not the quickest at pulling triggers, so I'm not like reckless in the fact. I knew that, I just heard that, and you'll hear it from everyone, right? That like, oh, real estate, like, oh, just buy and rent it out. I'm sure if there's any like students watching this, they think about it, buying a property instead of paying their landlord money every month. Really hold on to that thought, because that's the seed, that's what you need. And then on top of that, I had a friend who had bought a property as well, had been investing in it, and he was successful with that.
That's Paul.
So
Yeah.
he was a great inspiration. Then reading books and information online, that's a big thing too. The first couple of deals I looked at, the numbers did not work. And I remember people saying, oh no, this is a good deal, this is a good deal. And I went, no, this doesn't really look too good. So
what's a good deal look like today for you, Dylan?
Yeah, so the way I like to look at it now is really coming back to return on investment, because that's how you can compare investing in real estate versus any other opportunity that may be presented to you. So what I kind of like to look for now is I like to see at least 20% ROI on a deal that's in a decent area, that's decently reasonable to manage, you know what I mean? Nothing too crazy, too out of the ordinary. That's kind of like an initial rule of thumb, and that assumes my management expenses, that assumes any capital expenditures, things like that, and that's a cash on cash return. That doesn't include mortgage pay down or appreciation or other things that you could factor into the deal. Because the way I look at things is that you should be able to get near 10% in a passive investment through multiple different sources. You know what I mean? Let's say you're doing really good and you're getting around 15% in passive with like a private lending, or, you know what I mean, something that is a little bit more involved and something that you do have to be more of an expert in. However, if it's going to be an active kind of venture like buying property or real estate, that's where you really, I think, want to see over 20% ROI when you're getting into things. Now, with the BRRRR strategy or things like that, you're obviously going to juice the return much more. But in a conventional investment, if you want to look at things of just going standard without doing any kind of creative financing ninja work, you should at least get over 20%.
Nice.
trusting your own intuition is huge. And then, but yeah, just keep persisting. It'll take time. Like it took me to find a typical real estate agent who doesn't specialize in investment properties is ridiculous. You're speaking two different languages.
Yeah.
Same with a broker who doesn't understand what kind of financing you're trying to get. It's just tough. You're going to deal with a lot of that. A lot of the horror stories are pretty hilarious. Everyone's going to tell the horror stories, right? And me doing this for 3 years so far, really, like I've had some funny, quirky stories, but nothing that was overly terrible, nothing that would like ruin me. I think that you just have to...
Nothing's ruined you yet?
Nothing. I think my soul has been ruined in some ways. I'm jaded in some ways now, but no, we're all good.
It's like you're too cute, right? You're like too cute to even worry about. Like, oh, it's just his first property, and they'll hook you up with a nice little cute thing. I think the real challenge is like going for that second and like third and really trying to like scale it up and take it serious. Because that's when people...
I got a good point here. So this is an interesting one too, I find, because like that first property, first and even kind of second, you know what I mean? Once again, you're kind of cute. It's like, oh, he's doing this little real estate thing on the side. Like it's not too risky. And then I found getting to like, for me, it was like around 4 or 5 properties was when it started kind of to become a thing. Like somebody's like, oh, this guy's like kind of successful in real estate investment. It's like that saying, like first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they ridicule you, and then they respect you. Totally like that. So like, for me, it was like 4 or 5 properties. It was kind of like people be kind of critical about what I was doing, like ask me really like biting questions. And then once I got over the 5 property mark, I felt like then it really started to become people like, oh, wow, holy, and especially to buying multifamily properties. Like right now I'm over 20 units, and even in terms of tenants with student rentals, I could say I have like over 65 tenants. So when you drop numbers like that, then people start to be like, I don't know, I liked it. It's a bit of a flex, but like I was at Rogers the other day and the guy's like, oh, dealing with tenants. I'm like, yeah, I have 65 tenants right now that I'm dealing with and have relationships with. And so he's like, oh, right. So at that point, then all of a sudden you're boom, the authority. So it's interesting the levels of success that you kind of have to break through.
Yeah. And you're still self-managing everything?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Why is that, Matt? It's like, is there some way that can make my life easier? I find
you could be scaling up your portfolio and letting control your property take care of the landlording.
Oh, there we go.
If you guys want a free landlord starter kit, go to mattmckeever.com and you'll get a free landlord mini course. So I recommend you check it out and manage your property smarter.
100%. Don't make the mistakes I did.
Subscribe since day one.
Yeah.
What should I do now? Like,
Well-
what are the steps that you recommend to someone they've seen more than the tip of the iceberg, but they're not ready to jump?
Definitely, yeah. And I'm gonna try to get as laser focused as I can about this. I think about this a lot actually in terms of giving advice to younger people or other people starting out on their path. Always be like networking, learning, things like that. That goes without saying. But in terms of real estate investing, starting out, you definitely need some money saved up. So I would say you want at least around $20,000 saved up. You could probably do a deal for a little bit less, but let's say around $20,000.
Yeah, I still agree with that. I like having cash ready.
Get into a property with 5% down for your first principal residence with a high ratio insured mortgage, which is a mortgage that's insured by CMHC. You can get into real estate with relatively small amounts of money, like $20,000. You could probably even do a deal for around $15,000, but it's a little bit risky. But so you need to have some money saved up, like bare minimum. Also, you want to have employment, like a good job or like your career path pretty much set out at first. At the end of the day, that's going to be your safety net, your income coming from your property. If your first property, if you do a bad job with that deal, if you're young, it doesn't even matter because you'll still have a decent job and so you can make money back. And so that shouldn't be holding you back, but you want to have a good job first. Also, you'll need one to claim income for financing the property. So job, have about $20,000 saved up to get into real estate, and then start meeting with people and start learning. At the same time, if you don't have a job or $20,000, you can definitely start helping people out and networking, because that's huge, and just getting that experience. Like I said, it took me like a year to get.
Well, and I don't know if you remember this, like I want to come back and hear your advice for new investors, but first, for the audience that doesn't realize this, when we first met, we met at a coffee shop, chatted a little bit, and then I think one of the next times that we hung out, you actually came to one of my rental properties and helped us put together IKEA kitchens.
Yeah.
And we just kind of chatted real estate over like putting together cabinets and boxes. And again, like I really encourage you guys to like take those opportunities and spend some time with other investors, right? And just expand your horizons, because way too often as investors, I think what holds us back is a lack of knowledge. And there's so many unknown unknowns. Like if you've never met someone that's done a vendor take back mortgage before, it literally is this wild mythical thing. It's a unicorn, you know, it's Sasquatch. It doesn't actually exist in the real world.
Yeah.
And then you start talking to people that are doing VTBs on a yearly basis and you're like, oh, okay, I just have to have different conversations with different people in order to make that happen. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to, you know, someone starting out today? Any additional tips you would provide them?
I don't think so, actually. I like a lot of the advice I laid out there, although I think now I would have, there's like a separate path you could take, I think, and that's like the separate skill tree. Now, like, I think all my advice in the video is very applicable for like 99% of people, but I do think that like you do have to realize that there's some people out there that are just savages and they have super ambitious high goals, you know what I mean? They're super high performing people, and those people are going to be successful or make it happen in some capacity no matter what. So in that regard, those are the people that I maybe wouldn't even recommend getting a job. I would recommend, just get into the real estate business as soon as possible. Like somebody with that much hunger, that much ferocity. I've heard this put another way. There was, once again, coming back to goals, setting out. If you want to have a net worth of let's say $5 million, you can probably do that through just working hard, smart investing, building up things on the side. But if you want to start having a net worth beyond that, you really need to pull the trigger on building a business or have some like scalable entity before, because you're never going to go even near that if you're not building an asset or a large cash flowing business. So yeah, for somebody who just like, maybe it's the kid who has rich, successful parents and wants to make it on his own and like do or die, or somebody just has that chip on their shoulder and they want to make it, then yeah, go all out on building a business. Go all the advice I gave on like networking, meeting people, doing work for free, like do that times a million, because that's really going to be, at that point it's like get rich or die trying, right? Most of my advice in here is I think more applicable. It's like, here's the safe way that pretty much anyone can do it.
It's more for the average person, right?
Exactly. But now seeing people that are like ridiculous successful, like that's that new level that they play at.
Yeah, for me, I agree with a lot of the advice that past Dylan gave and current Dylan gave. If you are going to be one of those truly exceptional people, if you literally will just refuse to quit, I think you can avoid a lot of the common or average advice. But that's only for like really the rare few, like the people that are just like, no, this is the number one most important thing in my life. If you're that person with real estate investing, then I think you just need to like drink as much from the fire hose of knowledge as possible and just like network like crazy. And those are really the only two things you need to do. But for most other people, they're going to want a slightly more traditional or average path to real estate.
100%. Massive disclaimer. Yeah. Trained professional. Don't do this at home.
Yeah.
I wish I could have met myself when I had started and just kind of given the tidbits, or met somebody who's been successful with the process, because it was.
So this is something that comes up a lot, Dylan. How do you find that person, or how do you have that first conversation with the person that maybe has been successful in real estate investing? Like, how do you break the ice? Or how do people break the ice with you now?
Yeah, so I would say that's a really good question, actually. So I would say the success that I got, and I even touched on it a little bit in this video, I think it's really about making sure that that person who's more successful than you, making sure you're able to communicate that you're not going to be wasting their time, that like the advice that they're going to be giving you, the focus they're going to be putting on you, the energy that they would be potentially putting into you, you have to assure them that's not going to be wasted, because successful people have like no time, right? Like everyone's just so busy. So I think that's the first thing. And like, as a person starting out with like no skills, no knowledge, no nothing, how do you do that? Well, you can self-educate, obviously by reading, things like that. You need to have the right energy that you're bringing into the interaction. Like I've gotten this multiple times networking with older, more successful individuals. A lot of them will be like, man, I love the passion that you have. I see the energy. I see when I started out, I was just like you and I had that same energy, right? And you want to communicate that and share that. So that's huge, because you're communicating that. Like, it's so frustrating when a young guy, like, he'll slide into your DMs and ask you some questions or things like that. And it's like, you haven't even Googled the answer to these. These are dumb questions. These are terrible. Like, you know what I mean? It becomes a bit of a waste of time, and you actually want to avoid those people. But the people who are like if a young guy asks me a really good specific question, I'm like, sick, here's the answer. I want to see where this guy goes. I want to see what he does with it. So
what's the worst question you get asked? Is there one that like comes to mind right away?
This is kind of one that I've gotten a few times that irks me, is like when people ask about like, well, what about how much taxes do you pay? Or like, oh, you must pay a lot of taxes on those. And it's a tough one, because like tax questions are super good. Like that's a high level. If somebody's actually asking intelligent tax questions and like ways to optimize the tax, obviously Matt being a CPA, he's getting familiar with that, but it's really frustrating when somebody's just asking you about like your capital gains, how much that'll be taxed. Because at the end of the day, the more tax you're paying, that means you're winning the game more. So that's almost a good thing. But don't get me wrong, like high level tax questions are super specific. And that's when you know you're talking with a killer, when they know like tax loopholes or strategies or corporate structure. So yeah, that question becomes really good at a high level. But at a low level, it's just like, oh.
Yeah, and I also just hate the haters that will comment and just be like, oh, but what about taxes? And it's like, bro, you're going to pay taxes if you're doing anything right. So like, just accept it.
Would have definitely sped things up and also given me confidence to kind of have an idea of where I sit. But those are like the important things going forward. Once you get those, then I would say the other important thing too for somebody who's young is really analyzing their lifestyle and where they want to go and what they're okay with. I don't want to I don't want to make a blanket statement, but I think a lot of people are almost too entitled to kind of start doing things that.
Obviously that's changed since 2016. There's no sense of entitlement anymore. So society has perfected itself, so excellent.
It's amazing, yeah.
Well, I'm 18 and I'm going to be like a graphic designer, so I don't even want to touch this or think about this.
So actually I'm going to go off a little bit here. So this is something that like I get DM'd often as well, where people are like, hey, like I'm 18, I'm 20, I'm 22, I'm 25. It doesn't really matter the age, but they're like, and I'm going to do everything you did, but faster, and like I'm going to do it in like a year. I'm like, wow. Cool. Like, I'm just like, you kind of need to show me the results first before talking about it, and then I'll find out that like, oh, but they also want to go to school full time, they also still want to keep their job, they want this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, like the only way that you're going to beat someone that's already done it before is by like truly being obsessed and going all in on it. And I'm not saying that you guys need to do that as real estate investors. In fact, I don't think it's right for the vast majority of people. But again, for the rarefied few that want to like buy a property at 20 or before they're 20, like Dylan did, you know, like you do need to be stepping up. You need to be putting in a lot of effort.
Yeah, exactly. Like even in my story, like I don't feel like I was super obsessed at a young age about things like this, but like I did have a lot of things going for me. Like I've always been super frugal, always saving lots of money. I was always working part-time jobs during the summer, everything like that, building up that money, and that's what allowed me to get into the game. So somebody starting with like zero momentum, it'd be a very difficult task.
Yeah, because it's not like you watched one YouTube video at age 20 and then decide I'm going to become a real estate investor, and then the next day got a property.
Yeah.
Like it's a process.
Yes, massive process.
Yeah.
I think you should really experiment as well, and real estate is a great thing to get into no matter what your skill set is. So even if it's not a hands-on, even if you're doing tech-related stuff, there's tons of guys that I know that are tech-related but are still crushing real estate. Understanding that maybe as a 18, 19, 20-year-old, you're going to be living in just like a basement unit, which, like, just for the record,
just a basement dweller. Basement dweller for life.
Actually, it's like a 2-bedroom unit with its own kitchen, bathroom, like a living room. The laundry is right beside it, so it was like very comfortable, and I can easily live with a roommate. But being willing to kind of take that hit initially and kind of live that nomadic lifestyle, I think is very important as well. Because that kind of stuff, you're going to have that creativity, that lifestyle creativity of like, yes, I can live like that, to go into it. And I think really if you've got that money, the job, and the willingness to do it, like that's all you really need to get started.
Awesome. Boom. So that was the very first video we ever shot together.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to kind of add or build upon from it, or?
No, I think that's good. Like, and honestly, I think that's another thing I didn't really touch on. But at the end there, I was talking about how like I think everyone should get into real estate, whether you're a graphic designer or have a different skill set. And I still hold true to that like a lot. Like I don't see why like more people aren't acquiring at least a few investment properties. Like you don't have to have a big portfolio, you don't have to be obsessed about it, but it's just such a great investment vehicle. The financing terms are so favorable, you know what I mean? And it's a great source of diversification. So it's shocking almost why people don't, you know what I mean? I feel like it'd be a great retirement package, even let's say you're at the later end of your career stage and you've got some extra money, and have a rental property for retirement, you know what I mean? Because it does, at the small level, it's still very enjoyable, even when you have a small number of properties, even more than I had back in this video, which took me only a couple years to get to. So I think that's the thing. More people, like a lot of people even have the money and they have enough skill sets where they could get into it. But once again, just that little bit of desire, just having that goal, it's that internal motivation. So I hope more people use this to fire up their own journey.
Awesome. I love it. Well, this is usually the point in the video where I'd ask if you have social media handles for people to follow you on, but I know you essentially don't post anything, so there's almost no sense.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
So if people do want to follow along with the quantity of quality posts you put out,
yeah,
where should they go?
So Instagram at Dylan McLauchlan, or hit me up on Facebook, Dylan McLauchlan.
And they can look forward to once a week stories.
At least, yes, once a week. We'll stick to it.
All right. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks again to Dylan for taking the time to sit down with me to reflect on 2016, Dylan. It was a lot of fun shooting these videos. Let me know, did you guys enjoy this type of video? I would love to go back to the library of videos we've done over the years and just share my perspectives, any updates, and a lot more with the guests or myself, depending on the video. Let us know in the comment section, who should we do the next reaction video with? Is there a favorite person or character that you've seen on my channel that you think we should re-meet up with and just kind of shoot a reaction video? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and until next time, remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money in this world for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, I mean, like, what's the point? Thanks, guys.